Congratulations on your successful T-QUAL Grants application. This presentation will give you important information on the stages of a successful T-QUAL Grants project, with a particular focus on the funding agreement. So what are the stages of a successful T-QUAL Grants project? Stage 1, Announcement. Stage 2, Planning and Preparation. Stage 3, Funding Agreement prepared, reviewed and signed. Stage 4, Project Implementation starts. Stage 5, along the way, project milestones are completed and reports are sent to the T-QUAL Grants team. Stage 6, the T-QUAL Grants team assesses reports and grant funds are paid. Stage 7, the project is finished and acquitted. Stage 8, once the project is complete, the grantee can disseminate their project findings. They may also be asked to provide feedback to assist in T-QUAL Grants program evaluation. But let's take a step back and start from the beginning. Stage 1, Announcement. So you found out your application for T-QUAL Grants funding has been successful. Congratulations! Once you've accepted the offer of funding, you'll be contacted by the T-QUAL Grants team in the Department of Resources, Energy and Tourism, or RET, to confirm that you still wish your project to proceed. The T-QUAL Grants team will then need to do some work to prepare a funding agreement, or FA, for your project. With a number of successful applicants, this can take some weeks, so don't worry if you don't hear from the team straight away. If it's critical that your project works start promptly, for example, if you need to complete building preparation work before the wet season commences, or some works have to be finished before your peak business period, let RET know by emailing tqualgrants@ret.gov.au. Remember, you won't be able to use T-QUAL grant funds or your matching cash for any work you undertake before the FA is signed. Stage 2, Project Planning and Preparation, before the FA is signed. Taking this time to do some planning and thinking through how to implement your project can help ensure things go smoothly. There are some things you can do now to ensure that your project is able to start promptly once the FA is signed. Firm up your timeframes. Are they realistic? How long will it take to get planning approval so work can start? Does a supplier you'll be relying on have an annual shutdown period? How much time will it take to advertise, interview and select a contractor? Think about peak times in your business when you'll have less time available to work on the project and factor this into your timeframes. Remember that other people you'll be depending on to make the project happen may be planning holidays or have peak work periods too. Read through the draft FA on the RET website and make a note of anything you don't understand or want to discuss with the grants officer when they contact you. All projects must have a community consultation plan with the features set out at clause 3.4 of the FA and a project risk management plan with the features set out at clause 3.3 of the FA. It's a good idea to think about these plans now and start developing them. This is not something that RET staff can help you with because the plans are specific to your project and business. And feel free to get your own legal advice. Stage 3. The funding agreement is prepared, reviewed and signed. A funding agreement is a legal agreement between you, the grant recipient, and the Commonwealth of Australia. T-QUAL Grants officers will develop a draft FA for your project based on the information provided in your application. They'll contact you and work through the draft agreement with you before it's finalised and sent to you to sign. The FA identifies what the project is intended to achieve, sets out what specific activities need to happen when with your project so that the T-QUAL Grants funds can be progressively paid to you, and sets out what you've agreed to do as a condition of the grant. Finding your way through the FA. The first part of the FA that contains the background and the various clauses and definitions is standard to all T-QUAL Grants Tourism Quality Project funding agreements. It's important that you read and understand this because by signing your funding agreement, you'll have agreed to meet all of these conditions. Other parts of the FA, the schedules, contain parts that will be tailored to your project. They're all important, but pay particular attention to Schedule 2 and Schedule 4, as these are the ones you'll need to work through in detail with your grants officer before your FA can be finalised. Schedule 2 will contain a description of your project and the project outcomes, the dates that the project works are due to start and finish, a table containing specific milestones or what you need to do, when it needs to be done by and reported on, the evidence you'll need to provide, and progress payment dates and amounts. The Grants Officer will use the Project Milestones section at D11 of your application as a starting point for developing Schedule 2. A few months will now have passed since you wrote your application, and some things may have changed. So please take the opportunity to work through the order of the activities and the timeframes with the Grants Officer, making sure that you're realistic about how long things will take. Remember that once the FA is signed, you've committed to deliver your project in accordance with these requirements. TQUAL grants funds can't be paid to you if you don't meet these requirements. Schedule 4 deals with the funds for the project and your project budget. You'll have included a project budget at D9 in your application. Check through this section and note any items where you have more up-to-date information. For example, you may have estimated a cost in preparing your application, but now have a quote. Although you can't include promotional or marketing costs, you can include a project event such as a launch, sod turning, or celebration of your project. Only eligible activities can be included in the project budget. Furniture and furnishings, for example, can't be included. You have to provide a financial report from an approved auditor on completion of the project. Have you remembered to include this in the budget? If you're unsure whether or not an item or activity can be included, make a note to discuss it with the Grants Officer. And remember, you can't get extra TQUAL grant funding if your project goes over budget. So what comes next? Once the funding agreement's been signed by both parties, it's time for you to start implementing your project. Your FA sets out what you're required to do. Once it's signed, it's over to you, and RED assumes that you're getting on with your project as it's set out, unless you tell us otherwise. As you reach your milestones, you need to submit reports that prove the project is progressing as planned. It's our objective to give you funds as and when they're needed so your project can progress effectively. The evidence you provide gives us confidence that Commonwealth money is going to achieve the project outcomes. But what happens if things don't go according to plan? We understand that sometimes even the best laid plans go off track. If your project isn't progressing the way it was originally described in the FA, just talk to us and we'll see what we can do to assist you to help your project achieve its stated aim. The earlier you tell us, the sooner we can work with you to resolve any issues. At the end of the day, we're all about producing better quality Australian tourism products and services. And your project has been successful in an extremely competitive process. We want to see all TQUAL grants projects achieve their aims. You may want to start thinking about how you let others know about your project. Don't neglect any opportunity to promote your business, and remember to acknowledge TQUAL grants. The fact that you've been successful in gaining funding is an achievement in itself. If you'd like more information about promotion and sharing your story, get in touch with the TQUAL grants team. We're excited to see your idea become a reality, and we look forward to hearing your progress.